There are about 10 minutes and he's going to be talking to some people from Gentex. Have a listen to this.
The Hawk at Large in Athlone.
It was officially known as General Textiles Athlone. When it opened in the late 30s and right through the 40s, locally it was called the Cotton Factory. Then, through the halcyon years and right until it closed, well, it was affectionately known as good old Gentex. It's the Hawk at Large here for Midlands Radio 3 Athlone on 102.1 FM, and you're welcome. So I'm with Josh Broderick, I'm with Johnny Murray, and I'm with Bernie Dully. Hello, lads.
Hello, Josh.
Hello, Joe. Great to see you.
Great.
Well, everybody knows what we're on about today. I'll start with Josh, actually, Josh Broderick.
Right.
And I just want to find out, what year did you start in Gentex?
Late 1936.
1936.
36, yeah.
And at what stage of the build? Was the place even built then?
No, the factory wasn't built at all that time. They were under digging foundation, but I worked inside, on the right-hand side, inside the gate for Dr. McNamara, had a dispensary years after that. And I worked with a fella called Flynn from Trenown and a fella by the name of Gary Hogan. And a fella by the name of Frankie Judge, and then our old-timer above all was your man from, down the top, what do you call him? He worked for Gary Hogan. No, I'll think of it again.
Think of him as you go along. Well, at a time like that, Josh, that was just before the war, was it?
That was before the war, yeah. And I cycled from Cree and Ballinasloe, 14 miles coming, 14 miles back. That was 28 miles a day. And I was here at 6 o'clock in the morning. I often left Ballinasloe at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I fell on my backside 3 or 4 times with the frost that was on the road. and I got up again, and I was racing back, and it would make 2 marks on the road. I was famous with that bint. And I put the peak or the cap behind the head, and away I go with the head down.
So that was at the build. We said it was the building of the place.
That was before it was built.
Before it was built.
Yeah.
So then, what would you say your wages were then every week?
My wages until we went out on strike was 5 shillings. Well, it was a 1 penny stop down. And we went out on strike, I think, in 1938, and we had 7 and 16 from the union. Okay. And then they got sort of browned off with that, the 7 and 16, and that broke down. And the ring dealers were taken back, but the exhibit stuff itself, we weren't taken back.
Right. We were taken back.
So, yeah, Bernie, intro for Bernie Dully. Bernie, what age did you go into the factory, into Gentex?
16, Joe. 16, yeah, 37.
And was it built at that stage?
It was just up the walls and the roof.
Yeah, but it wasn't operating?
It was. We were in the drawing-in department, and there were Belgians. Like, there was only Johnny Rodham and myself and Mickey Guinan in it at the time, and Shameen Early. Shameen Early.
Because if people could visualise, we'll say, in the 60s, and looking at Gentex and comparing it to what you fellas saw, there was no spinning shed then, no?
No, I tell you, to give you the names of some of the people that worked. There was Jules van der Hagen, Bertrand van der Hagen, Mr. Legash, Gilbert Van Ens. They're all Germans.
Belgians, were they?
Yeah, and there was a Mr. Yaw Good, because he couldn't speak any English, and we called him Mr. Yaw Good, but that's all he could say.
Well, tell us something, Bernie. Or any of the lads can tell me this. Actually, Johnny Murray, I shoved this one at Johnny Murray. Johnny Murray's just there beside us there. He's behind the weaving shed. Dodging. As he always was. Johnny Murray, you live now in Talbot Avenue.
I do, yeah.
What were those houses? Tell us something about those houses. Who were they built for?
They were built for the Belgians. And the Belgians, when they come over here, they grew their own tobacco out in where I'm living now, the back garden, and made their own cigarettes and everything here. And they used to fish. They used to live and fish.
Yeah.
They'd always go every evening when they finish over beyond, go fishing. And cycling out to Johnstown, used to cut their own timber. They wouldn't buy anything, wouldn't buy farm. And they were the hardest workers or whatever.
Well, what did the locals think of the Belgians then, Joe? How did the locals relate to them, you know?
They were all right. Everyone seemed to be okay, you know. They couldn't talk English, but they spoke their own language. I often asked them, what was that? And they tell me what it was. So I can't mention that.
Of course, yeah. That'll come later. Well, Bernie.
Well, that's the truth. They were speaking Belgian most of the time, and lots of times, you know, they were jocking you. Yeah. And unfortunately, we couldn't speak Irish, but we used to say the Hail Mary in Irish, and our Father now to one another, just to. And they used to unite them, and then eventually they stopped themselves, you know.
Because, you know, when the Woolen Mills, I heard this, I was young when the Woolen Mills died, but when the Woolen Mills burnt, some people were believed to have said, actually they said it, well, thanks be to God for Gentex. because Gentex had opened, that mill burnt, isn't that right? So it was probably good at that stage. Tell me something about the shift work. Was that something new? Was that a new concept in Athlone?
It was all day work.
Yeah.
There was no shift work. Gus the Smith, he was my boss. He was a Belgian. And he used to call me, he couldn't call me Johnny Murray.
Yeah.
He used to call me, in his own language, Slumanari. And when it come to near dinner time, see, that time he used to go at 12:30. He said, Nari, we'll have enough to prat for Monday. 12:30, go home to your dinner.
And what department did you work in, Johnny, then?
BDF, Beach and Dining Finishing.
So
And I worked all over the beach and dining finishing.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I was in the weaving shed, in the preparation.
Yeah. Bernie Dully, here's one for you before the break. Who do you remember kind of bosses down there, apart from the Belgians?
The late P.J. Lenihan. He was the first Irish boss, because we had Mr. Lagash before that, and his father, 2 Belgians. And he was the first really Irish boss that came.
So tell me, do you all...
Another thing, Joe, I wanted to
Yeah, sure.
We were on metric in 1937, because it didn't come in here for a long time, because the Belgians were on metric, and we were on metric in 1937.
That's a good one, Growth. That's a new one. So you had your sums done earlier then, hadn't you? Done earlier.
Right, yeah.
Joss, do you remember when P.J. Lenihan came to the factory?
I do indeed. He had a Noel Green, I don't know, was it a Mars or what was it? But Noel Green, it wasn't a great care anyhow. Look at one way there. But things were bad that time. But Miss Connolly, I think, as far as I can make out, was Mr. Lenihan's private secretary at that time. Would that be right?
That's correct.
I think things were anyhow.
There's another Brady there, Brady Corcoran. There's 2 Bradys.
That's clerical, is it? Clerical.
One of them, McCleary's clerk, and the other, Mr. Lenihan's clerk.
Well done, lads. What we'll do, we'll just take a little break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk further about Gentex. And if you're listening out there, remember to stay tuned. You're with Athlone Radio, and I'm with Josh Broderick, Johnny Murray, and Bernie Dully. I might get Brady Cork in a while, so stay tuned, and then we'll see you for part 2.
The Hawk at Large in Athlone.
Have you visited Cito Furnishing and Design yet? Well, don't delay. Get down to Cito and see our fantastic solid pine showroom.
Hawk at Large in Athlone.
Well, you're very welcome back to part 2. We call it Nostalgia Gentex. Josh Broderick, tell me something. When did you come to Athlone to stay?
Well, I came to Athlone in about 1939 to stay. And I stayed up in the Batches, number 5 St. Anne's Terrace. A woman by the name of Maggie Rooney. John Rooney was Maggie Rooney. She was a great house character. And we had a room. We slept in the one bed, myself and a fellow by the name of Eugene Monaghan from Brideswell. He had very smelly feet, but that didn't come into it anyhow.
Because we were just saying off air a while ago, that's the way it was years ago, lads, wasn't it? 3 in a bed and every coat in the house over you.
Yeah. That's right. Oh, that's the way it was. If you had a coat, you might you wouldn't have a top coat in it, that's for sure. But anyhow, Maggie, when she fed us, giving us the room for the 1 and 3 and 6pence between the two, 1 and 3pence, no, to half a crown, and she fed us along with that. When I'd go home into Ballinasloe, I'd bring back a pound of butter and half a cake of bread or whatever the sister gave me, and a half stone of potatoes, and that done us in for the week. Oh, we were gentlemen then. We go to the Longwood Hall into a 4-penny hop and go home with girls, and we were big shots. I left home a girl one night, and I always remember a fellow by the name of Tommy McManus. I bet you still, he said, you don't put on the dare. I said, I bet you I will. And I went over, she's on her own reading the book. So I put on the dare for her anyhow. And she put the lace up. And when she knocked at the door, this lady came over, long white sleeves, down at her. Jesus, I said, how am I going to go in here? I said, I know an ordinary bob and buy or something. So it worked out that she was working there, Dr. Kelly. She was working with Dr. Kelly. That was out there. So I went to one turn and I didn't go no more. I think she let me down, I suppose.
Bernie, have you any old memory that you can recall about Gentex? That's old Gentex now, around in the early 40s. There's someone, give me a shout there. Who's that Johnny Pastor?
Lolly Earls.
Well, I was very lucky. I only lived in Columbus Terrace. I could come across 100 yards into it, and as mostly there were only a few Irish in at that time. There was Joss and the people we had mentioned, and they were mostly Belgians. But like there was a fellow by the name of Bertie Van der Hagen. He played for Athlone afterwards. He was a great footballer. I used to play with him. I used to play football with him. That was a great memory because he was a very good footballer. And you might have heard of him.
I heard of him actually, didn't he? Johnny, who can you remember from the BDF? Who stands out from the guys you work with now? Who can you remember?
Paddy McLaughlin, who went to America. Dennis O'Brien. Christy Jarrett. Paddy Scanlon. Paddy Scanlon. Paddy Scanlon, and there's another fellow in the store. Tully was his name. He was from Roscommon. Paddy Tully. He was the storeman. And I used to go in there to get out the stuff for the Stanford, for the mixing, for the stiffening the cloth, the dextrine and all that, yellow dextrine and white dextrine and soluble oils and all that. And he'd be there, and we had such a time for going for it. He wouldn't be there the whole time because he had to do work, pencil work and paperwork as well. But anyway, to make a long story short, that's how we got all the stuff for the put into the cloth.
Right, Bernie, I'll put this one at Bernie. In the war years, we said, the war years then was sort of intervened. What was life in Gentex like in the war years now?
In the war years, anyone who left the job that time lost no seniority during the war year. So some of us, a good lot of us left and joined the army for the emergency. And we came back after the emergency into it, you know. But we lost no seniority. That was part of the deal once we joined the army.
No, this is a funny kind of a question. I'm going to throw it at you. Maybe some people out there might see some relevance in it. You see, the shift work in Gentex was condemned by a lot of people. Health-wise, they always thought that the cotton had some kind of an adverse effect on your health. Insofar that it sort of coincided with the... Do you remember the TB epidemic of the 40s, lads?
That's right,
So what do you reckon about that?
Oh, the spin shed was noted for that because they had no mask or anything, and that cotton came up into your mouth, into your face, the very same as if you were plucking a goose. But that bad, but they're dangerous.
Well, now, what about with semi-social side? What about the late shifts where people would be probably dancing on the Sunday night and have to get up at 5 o'clock of a Monday morning?
Well, I'll tell you about that. With the old team, we often went down to Waterford to play Tyke or Athletic. You might often heard them, I'd say you played against them. And I remember coming back on the early shift, and we arrived outside the Gentex gate at 10 minutes to 6, and we went in. And there's one particular well-known fella put his card into the clock and fell asleep. And I left him there for 3 hours before that, and he was asleep with his card in the clock. And I won't mention his name but that'll be it. Be great.
Was Gentex unhealthy, Johnny?
Well, it was in a way, because if you went in there now in the summertime on a sunny day, you looked up through the glass to see, think it was snowing, you see all the stuff going up along, all dust from the cotton and all like that, and that was going up through you as well. So it wasn't, and if you looked at the roof there, so you used to have to go in every Saturday to do the roof, clean it.
Well, was it really? This man, what age are you now?
Who are you, Joss?
Me? Gone 85.
85. I'm 76. What age are you?
I'm going on 80, 78.
No, it wasn't that bad. There's 3 of us to say it wasn't that bad.
That's right, really. How right you are, like, you know.
It wasn't that bad. Seemingly wasn't.
And you know, like, I worked in Gentex as well. I did my spell down there. And let's be fair, I suppose, it was a good old living for us all, wasn't it?
It was the only thing in town.
A great living for us all.
It was great,
Because there was no work much at the time. The woolen mills were only have been burned.
That's right.
When Gentex opened. And there was a lot implied in the woolen mill. Coming out on a Friday evening with good money. And a lot of them got into Gentex.
They did.
They worked in the woolen mill.
Like Bernie said, some people had to go to England. Isn't that right? A lot of people had to emigrate. And then a lot of people joined up as well.
That's true,
Yeah, but I suppose we could all agree the fact that some people will disagree with it, but I think it'd be fair to say that PJ Lenihan did do a good job right through the 40s.
He did do a wonderful job.
And he did keep the place open, didn't he?
He did, and he kept the place open when there was factories closing down in England. And he went over to, I don't know where he went in, brought back the cotton and kept everybody going. He was a great man.
And he stepped on where the bombs were up on each side of him when they went for this, try and get this cotton.
I mean, when you couldn't get shipping, he was able to get shipping in with cotton to keep the place going, which is brilliant. And you're back to the social end of it. It was brilliant. We had GA team, we had soccer team, We had Irish classes. We had scholarship when they were never held for the workers' sons and daughters. They gave scholarships, which like the social. We had our brass bands, you know. We had everything. We had a great boxing club. We had some Irish champions. We had Paddy O'Leary, hadn't we? We had Eddie Duffy. We had Kieran Lynch. We had all Paddy McGarr. We had all those great boxers. All great social life. It was brilliant.
And the swimmers, Joxer.
Joxer, the swimmer, Shannon Swim, John Keenahan. Famous swimmer, you know.
I was supposed to have John on this, but it just didn't coincide.
Billy Keogh used to train them.
Yeah.
The St. Rock's Common team. They won the All-Ireland in 1944, 1945. He came in and he trained Gentex as well. And he trained the team on the boxer.
Great. So we'll take another little break there. That's great. That's very good stuff there. Very good observations. And if you've just joined us, well, I'm with Athlone Radio with Josh Broderick, I'm with Johnny Murray, and I'm with Bernie Dully. And we'll see you again. I think it's for part 3. Thank you.
The Hawk at Large in Athlone. At Large in Athlone.
Yes, you're welcome back to part 3. Off air there, we were talking about, somebody said the spinning shed. There was an orchard. Johnny, do you...
That was an orchard where the spinning shed is built now. I got apples in it myself. And I got rhubarb in it even.
And tell me, have you any idea what year the spinning shed was put there? Because obviously it wasn't there from the beginning.
Oh, just a long way back too. I can't think the year now.
Or Joe or Bernie, approximately.
We roughly say 40 to 42, as far as I can make out. That's as far as I can remember.
We started building, I say, in 40. I'd say it'd be 43.
I tell you,
that's roughly, you know.
What brings me back now that far is where the spinning is now. That was a wooden hut.
Yeah.
That was a wooden hut. It
That's
was
where
burned.
the spinning shed is now.
Yeah. There was a wooden hut there at the beginning.
Yeah.
And that was burned.
Yeah.
One Saturday night I think it was.
Yeah.
Was what do you call those heaters comes out onto the floor.
Yeah.
One of them. There was a wooden floor, you see.
Yeah. Actually, what I better do now, for people listening outside, Johnny...
It was plenty of oil in it, you see.
Yeah, I better clarify for people listening out there, they might be conversant with what we're talking about. Gentex, the complete place down there, there's Athlone Extrusions now, which possibly would have been a spinning shed. And there's Mickey Boland's place, what do they call that? The weaving shed, you know, Mickey? Vitabond, yeah. And what's in the BDF? The BDF is actually gone, is it? Is that finished?
I think so.
It's in the BDF now, to be honest.
Is the building still there?
Part of the BDF, you have industry in it now, small industry.
Yeah.
Like
and the bowling alley and all that. Yeah. So folks out there, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the old Gentex factory, just to clarify that.
The bowling alley now is in the old weaving shed.
Yeah.
And Vita Bond is in the old weaving shed.
That's good. That's clarified.
Now the spinning shed, you have industry. No, you have industry, you have the paint crowds and you have all the small little places.
Yeah.
Inside that door, you went down to the old looms, not the structure.
Yeah, just across from us. Just across from us. You know, we're looking over there. That place, what have you called that?
They call it Bernie Dobby looms.
Ah, yes.
And North Strat looms. Yeah. And the new looms were sulter looms, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's
and this place over here, that was the workshop, wasn't that right?
That's right, that was the workshop.
Joe, can you remember when, obviously, can you remember the Ranelagh School?
I can remember the Ranelagh and Mr. Lennon living in it, but I was never there when there was...
I remember the Ranelagh School as a kid. I remember as a young boy at 3, going down to see Shamrock Rovers play on Athlone Town here.
Oh, you really?
Yeah. And it was a beautiful fine day, and they had their big hamper baskets with them. That time Shamrock Rovers had their jersey and had their meal. I remember as a very young boy going down with my father.
Would that be the mid-20s or late 20s?
That'd be, I'd say it'd be 24, 25.
Yeah. I'm going to stick this one. Did you ever see Denny Hannon play?
No.
you just missed him?
No, I just missed him. But like I knew him afterwards. He's a lovely man, Denny, and Joe Manon. And Jim Sweeney, who went to Aston Villa afterwards from the town.
Yeah. Joe, the reason I was asking you that is the offices were built from the Ranelagh School, isn't that right?
That's right. That's it. They were built. Now, when I went into the factory first, there was 8 rooty. They used to call them rooty looms, and there was 10 North Trap looms. They were the ones that used to weave the suits. Yeah. And you'd want to be strong as a horse to twist him over wheels, you know. But because there was 12. What you used to call them, Bernie, or that was where you draw in. There was 12 of them shafts going up and down. There were 12 of them, and you would twist it down with your left hand, and you rode to see what the wrong way for it. There were pinstripes too at that time. If you had one mistake, see, the white thread would come out in the black, and then they bid him hook for dumb.
I'll tell you something, Joe. We'll go back to the old Rand after this, but I remember Gentex were weaving denim.
Yeah.
In the 35s and 36 before it ever became popular. They were weaving it. It was sold about a shilling a yard at that time.
It's amazing, you know, something like this could go on and go on. We could talk about this for a full day, like, and I'm sure the people out there are listening. You know, there's a lot of people who we could remember, and you can't remember them all. Do you know?
Well, the old Randall school, I remember as a kid playing up. I remember all the Randall boys with the red skull caps. And how I know, we used to go down there, and we wouldn't have a pair of football boots. But the throws out all boots belonged to them. We'd have maybe a size 6 on one foot and a size 7 on the other foot. But they always threw. There was a man by the name of Pat Shine who was the gardener there, and he always throws out the old footballs or the old football boots. So I remember for that.
What I'll continue with this, and maybe, you know, even if it's too long, we might make 2 parts of it. But I'm going to go for it anywhere, Johnny. The oratory and the 8th of December, we'll try and get into that. Do you remember the beginning of the little oratory, the little chapel?
I knew it well, yes. Just the up the side from the canteen, as you went into the canteen.
Yeah.
And up, they could go the back way up to the offices, up beside the little chapel. And on the 8th of December, I think we used to line up there to go on the parade. And we had the Gentex band that time. Yeah. Well, there's a few lads out of the army in it as well, and Ernie Phillips used to have them in, get them ready in Sportex.
Who?
And Ernie Phillips.
Yes.
Ernie Phillips.
But whose idea, I wonder, was it to sort of get the idea of the 8th of December? Was it a dedication to the factory or what?
Well, it was an idea that came from England. There was some mill in England had the very same thing. They were dedicated, and instead of that mill, it was in Derby, I think, or somewhere, and instead of where there'd be disputes coming, they used to go up to the oratory. And they sort of used to say a few prayers and settle their dispute. So the same thing was trying to be brought in there, you know, that instead of having that you talk things over, not, you know, that was the idea, you know.
Joe Gallagher was the great man for the
He was indeed,
Do you know what, lads? I said we could talk about. We didn't even get into any of the strikes, indeed. But
remember that time?
Yes.
The following in the morning when they went into work, everything that went in was brought outside, left outside.
Yeah.
I think it was on the weekend, am I?
Okay. Well, you know, we just have to call time on that, and maybe they might do part 2 of this, lads, you know. And all I can say is, on behalf of Athlone Radio, sincere thanks to Josh Broderick, to Johnny Murray, and to Bernie Dully.
And I'd like to remember one person we all knew well, was Johnny Rother.
Oh, yeah.
Famous Johnny, Lord of mercy.
The Count.
And Mickey Collins.
The Count.
Gavins, Tommy, Ben and Tommy Gavin, all workmates of mine.
Of yours,
And
Johnny?
there was a fella, they used to work down, they used to have a great footballer from Sligo, Dinny Kilfeather and Goggy Scantlin. They were 2 great, you should know them.
Did you? Sure.
Yeah, and Goggy, yeah.
Your memories, Joe, before we wind it?
I do. Gaines was my boss, Belgium, and then Somerville came after that, and then Tom Slattery was the day watchman, night watchman. He was a character on his own. Do you remember Ivo O'Reilly setting up the man? Georgie Bain and Ivo O'Reilly, they set up.
Yeah. I said we could talk and talk and talk. Anyway, lads, sincere thanks. It's the Hawk at Large here. Well, somebody would, I'm sure. We might even do part 2, but for now, it's the Hawk at Large saying goodbye for Athlone Radio. Sincere thanks, lads.
Thank you very much, Joe.
The Hawk at Large in Athlone.